the introductions, Martin?
Martin Burke, I'm an ex-eBay employee turned screenwriter, libertarian, good friend of Patrick's, and know Ed through Patrick as well.
My name is Sue View. Right now I'm a bored housewife, but I've been a libertarian for many, many years. I met my husband at a libertarian ISIL conference in Mexico. But one of my chores and challenges is to convince Mr. Skeptical, who's a mathematician, computer scientist, and now a data miner, that you can invest wisely, that it's not all a total crapshoot, because our money sits in the bank, and I'm terribly worried about us losing all to inflation. But he just doesn't believe that anybody or worse, yes, or confiscation.
Yeah.
He just doesn't believe that anybody can beat the market on anything, and oh my God, it's hard to argue. So my chore is to start getting our money invested properly, so that we're not knocking on your doors for a meal in years to come. So.
Hi, I'm Mike Parziali, and I'm a libertarian, and I've just been interested in this type of stuff for a while. I'm probably more interested in the political side of it, but I'll keep my mouth shut today.
Now, just to clarify, I'm not saying that politics isn't important, or that, as Pat would say, you know, what you do outside the Jefferson Club, you know, go for it. And so all I'm asking here is, don't try to convince everybody to vote Libertarian or whatever. You know, how you vote is not important here, but how you invest is what we're talking about.
I agree with that. So,
I'm Mike Bosworth, a patent and trademark attorney locally, and I started out as a libertarian when I went to one of the summer fee seminars back when Leonard Reed was there, and met Mises. I couldn't understand him because his German accent was so heavy, and all the cast of characters there. I've been kind of keeping up on and off, depending on workload and family obligations and all that. And recently got divorced, back in the dating pool, and trying to find people who are other than progressive, very liberal, is a tough task.
I got 12 women who want your card.
Hey, not bad. 12 more than I've been able.
So I've got a bet on with my stockbroker how I can take my IRA and can I, using my knowledge of economics, do better than he can using what Morgan Stanley tells him.
There you go.
So far I'm losing. Thank gold.
Yeah.
I'm Jack Mills, been in the technology business over 25 years, used to run a chunk of Intel. Beyond that, I have an MBA, minored in economics, follow the Austrian stuff, although I'm not glued to it. I don't care about Austrian or Keynesian or Chicago economics. I only care about accurate economics, which some Austrians don't get. Kind of a quant a little bit. Wrote some code to do some investing, but it's hard to compete with D.E. Shaw and Renaissance. But,
I'm Greg Fearman. I'm a registered investment advisor. I own my own company. It's called Top Gun Financial. So I study this stuff all the time. I write a regular client note on my website. I'm Seeking Alpha certified. I use Austrian economics in my approach, so I'm really excited about this group and this talk.
Cool. I'm Pat Peterson, longtime free market advocate and Austrian, but accurate, hopefully. It's,
and not always the same.
there's some monetarists that are better in certain aspects, and the public choice folks are
Public
good,
choice is great. Yeah.
generally, but I find Ludwig von Mises to be just more accurate than almost anybody I've ever come across. So every year I host a event that some of the folks in this room have actually been to. So on Mises' birthday, thereabouts, this year will be the day before, probably the 28th of September. And we don't just praise Mises, but we try and encourage people to look into his ideas, and because they're still as accurate and prescient today as they were back when he was writing before World War I through the 50s and 60s. So I look forward to meeting more folks. This is just a fantastic group, because I don't know everybody, and I thought I knew all the Austrians around, but this is great. I love it.
Hi, my name is Manmeet. I'm a technology solutions architect. I just recently kind of heard about the Austrian economic view. It really resonated with me. I thought this would be a great kind of forum to learn more about it.
I'm Kathy. I did a startup with Ed back in the late 90s and was in marketing. Now I'm in neuromuscular retraining, trying to help people get out of their corporate bodies that get screwed up over time. But I'm a very unhappy Republican. I've looked into the Libertarian Party, but I haven't really, don't try to talk me into voting that way, but I really do believe that this country has a lot of potential and we've just got to stop looking for handouts.
Randy Kerber, computer scientist, software consultant, and working with a couple startups, specialized in analytics, semantic technologies. Not an economist, but understand this stuff a bit better.
I'm Tini Ujoyo, I'm Ed's wife. I'm a software engineer, I used to work for Martin. And I don't know what parties I am or whatever, and I don't care. All I want is to make money.
I love you.
It's like, I don't want to lose money, that was the whole thing. Just don't lose me any money. I just want to figure out where the market's going and what the Medicare is doing, and how we can mitigate trying to not lose any money on this company. And I'm originally from Indonesia and Singapore, so I'm not used to all these welfare system and everything. Over there, it's like you earn what you get, and you get what you earn, not,
All right, I'm Ed Ipser, doing a startup, and I've always been interested in economics in undergrad and kind of kept track of it. And libertarianism, though not necessarily a card-carrying member or anything like that, but definitely like the ideas. But so now I want to introduce Brent Johnson.
I'm a Democrat. I'm just kidding.
You can stand or sit as you want to pass these out?
I think I've got like 19 of them, 18
Okay.
or 19 of them, so we can share, and if people want more, I can email them.
I think we have. Just take one pass down. Oh, no, this, we're short one. Yep. Okay, sorry. Everybody get one for it?
Yeah, got one.
Can we go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks to Ed. Well, first of all, thanks to Patrick for, I guess, forwarding on one of my emails to Ed.
Thanks to coming for the Uses events.
That's right. So, I happen to know a guy named Rick Rule, and he spoke at one of Patrick's dinners earlier this year. I guess it was late last year. And so I'm from San Francisco, so I went down to the dinner. And I probably listened to Rick talk 25 times, and I could probably listen to the same speech 25 more times because I think the repetition is good, and I think his logic is not flawed and is about as sound as you can get. So he's been a big influence kind of on my thinking. I'm probably a libertarian, although I am new to the game, I guess. I grew up in a small town in Nebraska, was a Republican for my whole life, and it was kind of a long, winding road to where I am now. But let me tell you a little bit of background about myself, and then we'll go into the presentation of the flawed monetary system. So I guess the best way to start off is that I'm not a trained economist. I'm not a CFA. I'm not a PhD. What I did do is I worked for a big Wall Street firm for a number of years in their private wealth management office, which was Credit Suisse. Big global firm, offices all over the world, a big presence here in Silicon Valley, taking a number of company publics, doing mergers and acquisitions. And we would work with a lot of the employees who had recognized a wealth event as a result. But before I get into that too far, I have a question. Has anybody ever seen the movie Spy Game? Okay, so it's a
Kids
movie. No, no, it has Robert Redford and it has Brad Pitt in it. And not that that in itself is important, but it's what.
Brad Pitt gets captured by the Chinese.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay,
exactly. And so it's one of my favorite movies, and I've probably seen it 5 or 6 times. And whenever I'm flipping around on the TV, and if it's on, I'll end up watching an hour of it or something. And about 6 months ago, I was watching it again, and I heard this line that I had never heard before, and it hit me like a ton of bricks because I thought it, in a certain extent, perfectly related to me, and that is, so what happens is Brad Pitt is a CIA operative, he gets captured, Robert Redford is his mentor, and so the rest of the people at the CIA are interviewing Robert Redford to try to get a better understanding of Brad Pitt and what he's about. And Robert Redford describes him as kind of a Boy Scout, said he was somebody who worked really hard, got to where he always wanted to be, and when he got there, he didn't like the view. And when I heard him say that, I was like, holy cow, that's me, because growing up, I always wanted to live in a big, I lived in a little town in Nebraska. I wanted to live in a big city, wanted to work on Wall Street, wanted to be a big shot, quote unquote. And so, worked hard and got there. About 5.5 years ago, I was working at Credit Suisse in San Francisco. Had an office on the 32nd floor overlooking all of San Francisco Bay. Made great money, met a lot of smart people, worked with a lot of very intelligent people. And I decided I didn't like the view, and I couldn't wait to leave. And if you'd have told me that that would have happened 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I'd have said, you're crazy. Once I get there, that's where I want to be. And so let me tell you a little bit why that is. In the fall of 2007, I met, it was my job when somebody sold a company or took a company public, it was my job to call on those people, meet with them and convince them that they should invest with Credit Suisse rather than Goldman Sachs or Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or whoever it was. And so I met this couple who had sold their video game company for about $20 million. They'd started it out of their dorm room at Harvard. Grew it up, moved out here to San Francisco, and sold it for about $20 million. So I called them up and went and met with them. And we kind of hit it off personally. I wasn't very much older than they were. And from a personal level, we kind of liked each other. And I happened to have a couple other video game clients, so we kind of had that in common. And so based on that first meeting, I invited them to come up to San Francisco. And they wanted to do that and meet the rest of the team, so to speak. And so I had arranged for, we already had the head of the West Coast wealth management practice in San Francisco, and I had arranged for our chief investment officer from New York and our head of equities from New York to be out there for that meeting as well. And we had it all set up again, big conference room, big windows overlooking San Francisco Bay. It's a beautiful day, and I was just going to wow them with these, 3 big shots from New York. So they came in and sat down as all pleasantries, and these two 30-year-old husband and wife proceeded to destroy the 3 managing directors. They started to ask them questions about what our opinion on the national debt was, what our expectations for inflation were. They got into things like what is the balance sheet exposure of Credit Suisse to subprime mortgages? How much trading of derivatives do we do? What types of derivatives are they? And our guys could not answer one of the questions.
What year was this?
2007, fall of 2007. And I was sitting there saying, holy cow, this is not going well. And up until then, whenever the national debt had come up in any meeting I'd ever been into, it was always glossed over. It said, yeah, we've got to get that under control at some point, but right now we've got other things to focus on. And that was it. And everybody just accepted it. And these two obviously did not accept that, and they challenged our guys on it. And at the end of the meeting, I could just tell it was a total disaster. I walked into the elevator, and they were very polite, and we said goodbye. And so I walked back into the conference room to kind of do a rehash of the meeting. And I thought these, managing directors were going to be embarrassed and, apologize profusely for not adding any value to the meeting. And they were laughing. And I was kind of taken aback, and they're like, yeah, don't worry about these guys. They, they sold their company. They've got nothing to do but sit around and worry about the end of the world. And what they need to do is go get another job and just not worry about everything. And I thought to myself, that can't be the right answer. There has to be more to it than that. So I went back into my office. I got out some blank pieces of paper and I got out a pencil. And I went on Google and I looked up the national, and I'd never done this before. And I don't know why I never had, but I'd never done this before. And I looked up the national debt. I looked up the unfunded liabilities. I looked up the tax revenue that we got off of our GDP. I looked up the rate of growth of, I looked up, and I wrote them out longhand with the pencil. You know, all the zeros. And if you've never done that, I would encourage you to do that. It's, I mean, because, I had the proverbial light bulb above my head. Literally, it went on, and I remember to this day, it was shocking. And I could not believe it. And I was like, holy cow, this is bad. And then I got to thinking, but am I crazy? Why am I the only one that thinks this is bad? Why does nobody else think this is bad? And it turned out that I stayed in touch with this couple, and they were kind of on their own journey too to try to figure this out. You know, they'd worked very hard and made all this money, and they just didn't want to lose it in the stock market or the bond market or derivative or whatever it was. And so whenever they would find something interesting, they would forward it to me, and so I started reading that stuff, and I started staying up late at night going on the internet, and you know, I'd be up until 1 or 2 in the morning reading these obscure chat rooms. And and actually there was one thing probably even 5 years before that, like in the early 2000s, a friend of mine had given me the book Creature from Jekyll's Island. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but it's kind of the Goldbug's Bible, so to speak. It's the alternative history of the Federal Reserve. And it goes through a big conspiracy theory about how the banks collude to rig the system and you know, When one falls, they bail out that bank. And I thought, and I've always liked mysteries and conspiracy theory. I thought it was very interesting. I liked it, and I put it up on the shelf and never thought anything of it after that. And then 2008 came along. But this, okay, so sorry, go back to 2007. I started reading more of this stuff. It kept reminding me of this, you know, the Creature from Jekyll Island book. And I got a book called The Empire of Debt. It was written by a guy named Bill Bonner, very well researched, and basically another one is called Mobs, Messiahs, and something. We're talking about all these different crashes throughout history. And so it was about the beginning of 2008 now, and things started to look kind of bad in the market. You know, bearish earnings